said that at lunch, and, again, can't continue thanking, from our airport to our LMIG, LRA and others. But, we got a great community here. We're really proud of it. And then the short tour of Barry only takes about 4.5 hours, so, with 28,000 acres, it takes a minute to see it all. But no, glad you're here, and, I know Pam's taking good care of you. I'm glad you're here. I know the soccer tournament kind of ran you up here, but please come back again. We'd love to host you. We got what I think is the best district engineer in the state, got the best area engineer in the state. They answer their phone, they respond to texts, they respond to emails, they get stuff done. And I know y'all don't hear that a lot, but, Grant and I have been working together about 10 years. Joel and I have known each other for 45 years, and he did not pay me to say that. But, he does a good job, and again, that's boots on the ground sometimes get stuff done that you don't hear about, but these guys are great. And I'll ask Sandy Rich to come up on behalf of City of Rome. But thank you again for being here. On behalf of Floyd County Commission, we're glad you're here and hope you enjoy your stay.
Thank you, Jamie, and good afternoon. What Jamie told me he was gonna say is how much better the engineer was than that last guy, but I see why you changed that part of the speech, but good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. Thank you guys for choosing to meet in Rome. Our mayor, Jim Bojo, is here, and I will extend a welcome on behalf of the other Rome City Commission members. It really is an honor for us to host you guys, and I hope you're going to enjoy what Rome Floyd's about. We're a pretty unique place. Y'all may have noticed there was not an interstate to bring you into our downtown community. And what that should let you know is the roads are extremely important to us, especially our state routes. And so we feel you guys have been a great investor into our community. We certainly give you thanks for that. The partnerships are good. We've got a great relationship with Georgia DOT, and we look forward to continuing to work with you, and definitely looking forward to a little windshield tour this afternoon. We'll show you some, I know you guys are accustomed to sitting in meetings and probably hear about projects, so we'd like to ride you around and point out some things and maybe how that fits in the bigger picture and what it means to us on the local level. But we're just really proud to have you here, and look forward to hearing more about how you guys do business. So I'll get out of the way, but thank you.
Next, I want to do some more introductions. First, chamber staff that's here today. If you need anything, events director Mary. She has so many last names. Mary Rico Evans, Ethan Branch. I've lost you in the back. He is our director of workforce and legislative affairs. So if you need any of us, please just let us know. Also want to thank Kristen, because as we prepared for this meeting, I emailed, texted, called. I may have sent a letter because I asked so many questions to Kristen. So I appreciate you helping us put this together for y'all. And then a shout out to Micah for being over the best district in the state. So now we'd like to invite Mike Robinson from Georgia Power, our lunch presenting sponsor, and he's going to educate us for just a minute before you start with your meeting.
I'm used to that. Good afternoon. Mike Robinson, Georgia Power. I am the Vice President of Grid Transformation. So that is a fancy term for planning and policy for transmission and distribution. So our team plans for expansion across the entire state, work with GTC, MEAG, and City of Dalton and doing the same. So we've got a tremendous amount of growth in the state, which I know you all heard about, and you see it here in your own area. Great to be here in Rome. I've always enjoyed my visits up here. So it's a beautiful country. Over my career, coming up here and being able to visit. Of course, you know, we've got Plant Bowen up here, used to have Plant Hamilton. But we are building a battery energy storage system up there that's about to be commissioned. So that's very exciting news for us. So battery packs that were mentioned earlier. So those are your own personal energy storage systems. So that's keep that close. And it's also a 5,000 milliamp hour battery pack. It's pretty, that's a lot. So don't lose sight of that fact. It'll get you through several airports. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce and give a shout out to Melissa Freed, our local region executive, and Shane Ammons, who's our local distribution manager. Thank you all for being here. So speaking about all the growth, so we, every 2 years, or 3 years, we file an integrated resource plan. So in 22, we filed one. We were projecting in 10 years, about 450 megawatts of growth. The next year, we filed an IRP update, so off-cycle IRP, basically showing that that had significantly increased. And we had a pipeline at that point in time of 17 gigawatts. That's about as much load as Georgia Power serves in the state of Georgia. Georgia itself, the GTC and MEAG, is about 28,000 megawatts or 28 gigawatts. But we were forecasting at least a pipeline of economic development activity of 17 gigawatts. In our 25 on-cycle IRP, that had grown to 24 gigawatts, and today it's over 70 gigawatts. So that's pretty significant. 70 gigawatts is about the size of Texas. ERCOT grid that they've got in Texas that serves the entire state. So last year, one of the things we worked with the Public Service Commission to protect ratepayers from the state of Georgia from all these large loads. There's a lot of questions about how long is this going to last? Is it sustainable? Are they actually going to bring the load that they say they're going to bring? Because these are really significant loads. A big load to us 5 years ago was about 25 megawatts. We're now seeing loads that are a gigawatt and a half, which is larger than the Vogtle units we just brought on. They're about 1,260 megawatts. So we agreed with the commission for all customers above 100 megawatts to provide protection in the form of contract terms, so a minimum 15-year contract term, rate eligibility, minimum bills. So looking at the cost of the transmission generation that is needed to serve these loads and ensuring that they pay for that over the term of that contract. A little bit of distribution in there too, but it's mostly transmission and generation cost. Collateral requirements in the form of parent guarantees, letter credits, and then also termination terms. So if they were to terminate the contract prior to, they owe us and essentially the ratepayers, Georgia, a significant amount of money. So just last year, we got close to 10,000 megawatts of generation certified by the Public Service Commission. That was coming out of the 25 IRP. We are now entering into another RFP that just launched. We have plans to procure and add another 4,000 megawatts of renewables by 2035 in the state. That's just Georgia Power. That's not EMC numbers or MEAG numbers. Our last 10-year plan specifies over 1,000 miles of new transmission. About half of that is new 500 kV. The other is about 230 kV. So that's 230,000 volts. And then also a bunch of grid improvement projects, particularly around grid enhancing technologies, advanced conductor, dynamic line rating, so we can get more out of the system. So those are new technologies that we deploy and we monitor and use those to reduce cost and increase efficiency as it relates to serving customers and ensuring reliability. And just like to thank Georgia DOT and their leadership. We have a great partnership with Meg Kirkle and her team. We do a lot of work with Georgia DOT. We're going to need to continue to do that as we expand the state, not just from a transmission perspective, distribution perspective, but also transportation. So looking at additional opportunities to utilize joint use where we've got right-of-way opportunities and being able to use those where we can, as well as coordination of projects. So I don't know if we've got any time for questions. Good. All right. Well, thank you for allowing us to be a host, and it's great to be here with y'all and enjoy your meeting. Thank you.
I think this microphone great. Or grant. All right, that's it for us. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That they call the statewide transportation planning strategic planning committee. Our business today is Janine Miller, our planning director in Colorado. 30 statewide transportation program units. So the floor is yours. Janine. That's all we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the board. It is such a delight to be out of Atlanta. I don't know about y'all. Thank you for hosting us here. This is absolutely beautiful. Wonderful fresh air, and it's great to be in another part of it. So thank you for hosting us today. I think you all are familiar with the STIP, but we're going to talk about it a little bit to give you a little background. Because before you in August will be the newest STIP, the 4-year program, the statewide transportation improvement program. By federal law, in order to spend federal transportation dollars in the state of Georgia, it has to be part of a STIP. And so that is a longstanding requirement that 4 years of projects includes highways, bikes, pedestrian paths, bridges, public transit, operations, maintenance, you name it. We're spending federal highway or federal transit money on it. It's got to be in the STIP. And it has to be fiscally constrained. In other words, we can't have more projects than we can reasonably project federal revenues to be available. And to be clear, these are just federally funded projects with match by state and local funds. Other aspects that are important for you to know about the STIP is that it really does start with the governor's and the board's goals for our transportation network that has been captured in the statewide transportation plan and the statewide strategic transportation plan. Former is a federal requirement and the latter is a state law requirement. Those are the things that guide what gets selected for the STIP. The multi-billion dollars of investment over this 4-year period that helps us deliver a system of projects focused on innovation, safety, sustainability. It starts in various ways. There will be a 30-day public comment period, but it includes rural projects and metropolitan planning organization projects. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so for the rural process and the MPO process, there are different starting points. They all end up in the STIP though. The rural process that is areas that are not in MPOs. Let me go back to this slide so you can see where the MPOs are around the state. If the counties in a gray color here, those are MPO counties, metropolitan planning organizations. By federal law, those local officials have to design their short-range 4-year program. So the areas in green is what our STIP is about. That is developed here at GDOT. Okay. And so at GDOT, we consult with local governments. Is a department-wide effort. Sure, it starts with planning, but there's a lot of interaction with the districts, program delivery, Office of Financial Management, Office of Environmental Services. It is a whole department effort, and we engage with you all as board members, locally elected officials, other stakeholders, and the public. And ultimately, the governor will approve the STIP. Then you all will approve, and then it will go to Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit for approvals. At the MPO, it's a little different. The MPO's boards are made up of locally elected officials. They guide all of the investments that go into what are called their TIPs. They do the same sort of engagement with the public and stakeholders. They interact with GDOT, of course. There are a lot of our projects are in MPO areas, as you'll see here momentarily. Those TIPs also go to the governor for approval, but they don't come before you. Those will get incorporated into the STIP as adopted by the MPOs. As we're putting this together, there are some salient facts before us, many of them headwinds that you all feel in your daily lives and businesses and communities every day. How much our economy is growing in the past decade or so, 3% economic growth per year. Well, that is impressive and enviable, isn't it? But it does put pressures on our transportation network. Georgia's vehicle miles traveled grew every year, nearly 1% in that 8-year period. But in reality, that period was a 7% vehicle miles traveled growth in Georgia compared to 4.9% growth nationwide. So our traffic is growing faster than in other parts of the country. all of that, against the backdrop of construction cost increases from 2021 to 2024. Construction 67%, maintenance 78%. So our dollars are able to do less than they used to be able to do. Our available funds cover a smaller share of smaller volume of projects than we know our travel demands would have us build. Here is a high level view of what the allocation, the types of high level categories of the funds in the STIP are going to go to. The biggest one you can see there, of course, is the Major Mobility Investment Program. That is the express lanes that we are developing and building on Route 400, 9285, from I-20 east to west. Now that makes it look like we've got a lot of money, doesn't it? But at least $9 million of that is going to come from private sector. There's no other way to build those lanes than with the private contribution, the private innovation that can bring that to bear. So of that $22.3 billion total, 41% of those funds are private. So it looks like we've got a lot of funds, but they are limited though. In fact, the MMIP, almost all of that is in Metro Atlanta, and that MMIP is actually 55% of Metro Atlanta's investment. Critical projects that are going to provide amazing reliability for decades to come, but majorly important investments. But when it comes to the other projects that are in our communities, the amount of dollars that GDOT directs is about $10.4 billion in this 4-year window. And so those are many, many things constitute that. The biggest spend amongst all of that is operations and maintenance. So there are about 77 unique projects in the STIP period that are operations and maintenance related. Pavement rehabilitation, ITS, signal upgrades, intersections are a separate one, I apologize. So in fact, the second largest investment category is intersections, the little over 50 intersection projects. Statewide, those are roundabouts, turn lanes that are going to add various places. They're actually more than $170 million also worth of bike projects, as well as projects that are important to rural parts of the state. There's over 200 bridges that are going to be improved throughout this 4-year period at almost $1 billion. And a vast majority of those bridges are in rural areas. We've got a little over 40 widening projects valued at about $390 million. We will be able to share all this breakdown with you by your district, but it's really important for you to know how much it does cost to run the department, to run the system, to maintain the foundational aspects of this vital transportation network that supports our economy. Before I go on, pause for questions there.
Any questions?
Okay, the public involvement that I mentioned will kick off July 2nd. We'll go for a 30-day period as required by law. There's going to be a virtual public involvement. We learned how to do that during COVID, and we actually got more participation virtually over the internet than we ever got in person. So we're excited to keep that going. It really is a great option for folks to be able to, if they can't get to their local libraries, and you see that list here next, they will be able to participate virtually. There will be a QR code on handouts that we have at the districts, and social media posts and information flyers will be getting the word out about the virtual option and the in-person option, which will happen in each of GDOT's districts, except District 7. District 7 is encapsulated entirely in the ARC MPO area. So ARC covers the District 7's, all of District 7's investments. But these are the 6 public involvement locations. Majority of them, of course, are at libraries, and you can see your board district affiliated with each one of those. The virtual option, which there's a website there, we don't have it live yet. We'll go live July 2nd. We'll have an interactive map. So by clicking into GDOT's website, you'll be able to view project details, by geography. It's a very useful tool and I think very helpful as opposed to PDF version, of just a simple static map. And that is also where folks will be able to click for virtual public involvement, leave comments, ask questions. And then next steps will be, as we conclude the public involvement in early August, the SIP document will will make any adjustments that may be required, and it will go to the governor's desk for approval and will come before you all in August. And in September, we will be able to spend the dollars that we have in the SIP for those projects. And that concludes my report.
Janine, thank you very much for the update on the STEP program. Any questions? Members of the board? Questions? Everybody just enjoying this beautiful setting?
That's right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
you, Jenny. Thank you. Stein, I would ask you, the P3 committee to tender, please.
Okay, I'll call the P3 committee to order here at 1:48. And today we have Richard O'Hara and Helen Pinkston who will give us briefings on alternative delivery procurement for Peachtree Road Bridge replacement. Richard, I'll turn it over to you, sir. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm here to present on the Peachtree Road Bridge Replacement Project. It's a new project to the P3 division. I'll provide the overview of the project, some of the challenges to the project, and the proposed structural improvements to the new bridge. And Helen she's our commercial advisory administrator. She'll provide details on the proposed alternative delivery method for the project. So the Peachtree Road Bridge is a 112-year-old bridge. It's a historic bridge and was recommended for replacement following a 2017 rehabilitation study. While the project is new to P3 division, it's been in the Office of Program Delivery for quite a while. There are plans developed. Environmental studies are complete. We have an approved environmental document. Right of way has been authorized, and right of way is actually underway, acquisition. The current configuration is 6 10-foot lanes with 9-foot sidewalks on each side. It's about 34,000 vehicles a day, so it's a high traffic volume at this location. And it's also situated adjacent to the Piedmont Hospital, the Shepherd Center. So those medical facilities are required critical access for this bridge during construction. There are a number of overhead utilities you can see in the photo. Georgia Power's got us covered there, as well as 2 water mains, a gas main, telecommunications conduits are also located on the bridge. So we're proposing a new bridge in the existing alignment to meet current design standards. We're proposing 4 11-foot lanes, 2 12-foot lanes with 2-foot buffers, and 9-foot sidewalks. The new bridge will span the CSX Railroad and accommodate a rail expansion line for them. It will also span the Atlanta Beltline, the proposed trail for the Beltline, a portion of the North Side Trail. I believe this was one of the locations on the 2025 Beltline tour. So some of y'all may have actually visited this location as part of that tour. You may be familiar with this location. So some of these challenges in summary, the extensive coordination it's going to take to get these utilities relocated, the railroad coordination, the Beltline coordination, in addition to maintaining traffic, keeping the road open, minimizing any detours or road closures. not only for this major urban artery with 34,000 vehicles a day, but this is also on the route for the Peachtree Road Race, the annual race. So there are some other considerations to minimizing impacts to traffic. To mitigate these concerns, it's going to take some innovation, and we're proposing an alternative delivery method to hopefully provide that innovation. And Helen will talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Given what y'all just heard about all of the site constraints and all the challenges described by Rick, this is one where innovation is required. And that's why projects sometimes come to us in the P3 division to say, what are the options? How can we incorporate innovation into the contract delivery method? So on this project, we can access innovation on the project by leveraging a contractor's experience during the design process, working collaboratively with a contractor to identify and mitigate the risks, some of the risks we just talked about, and by working with the contractor to bring solutions for staging the work and maintenance of traffic during construction. That's important given what you just heard about the CSX line, which is an active rail line, and for bringing the belt line to this area, which may be one of the last segments to complete. Also, I just wanted to add, Rick already mentioned the Peachtree Road Race. This bridge, because of its where it's located close to the Shepherd Center and Piedmont Hospital, it's at the bottom of what is called Cardiac Hill. So that just helps you place where it is in Atlanta and how important it is and what a special meaning it has to the area, not just on July 4th, but throughout the year for accessing these medical facilities. I'm gonna press this button. Okay, so what we have in a delivery method that's available to the department is one of the alternative contracting methods called CMGC, or Construction Manager General Contract. For a CMGC project, GDOT selects a contractor via a best value selection. And that contractor serves as a construction manager during phase 1 and a general contractor during phase 2. So during phase 1, that's when the designer of record is still finishing the design. And that contractor, as construction manager, can give input. They give input on constructability, like, is that design that the designer of record is working on, is it actually constructible by the contractor that's going to be doing the construction? So the contractor also gives input during the design process on construction phasing, on maintenance of traffic. We've already heard we need to keep this road open, right? Speech, staging and the risk. So that's what's going on during the phase 1. During phase 2, that contractor, who now is the GC of CMGC, that general contractor is responsible for delivering or building the project. So that's kind of an overview of what the CMGC method is. I wanted to say that one characteristic of a CMGC delivery is that during the construction, it's delivered in work packages. So there's some flexibility in how that construction is brought to bear. So work package 2, work package 3. And I also want to say that the statutory authority for CMGC is found in section 32.282 of the Georgia Code. That's the alternative contracting methods code section. Another key feature of CMGC, and this is something that provides assurance to the department, is the independent cost estimator. And that is a separate contract that we, the department, have with an estimator who gives an independent view on what that CMGC contractor is providing for their price. So that gives cost reasonableness to process. That's what they do. And I'll say that the federal regs, the CFR on CMGC, which, you know, the feds recognize that CMGC is a valid way, it's a valid delivery method for us to deliver projects. And they say that the state DOT has an obligation to make sure the costs are reasonable. So the ICE, the independent cost estimator, is how we do that. It's very helpful for doing that price reconciliation for the work packages. Now, how do we do this? I wanted to lost my place, but what we do, and this is per the code and the rules, the Georgia code and the Georgia rules governing CMGC. What we go through is an assessment of the factors and say, is this project that started off in OPD in this case, now has been brought to the P3 division, is this appropriate? Is it suitable and feasible and in the public interest to be delivered via the CMGC delivery method? And if it is, then we come to the board and request your permission to proceed with CMGC, an alternative contract method, in this case, CMGC. Then if you approve it, then we go forward. In this case, but I want to go ahead and highlight the factors that do support CMGC delivery for this project. We've already heard about the unique challenges in that why innovation is needed. So the bridge construction is really not what makes this very complicated. It's not a big bridge, but what does make innovation so valuable to the public is the coordination with the rail, coordination with the belt line, all those utilities, and the need for the stakeholders. It'll be very valuable to have the early involvement of the contract that will help mitigate the risk. That will also provide schedule optimization, and there's also a lot of value in the work packages that's available through the CMGC delivery method. So all in all, considering the factors that are set out in the code and in the rules, this process that we have to go through when we want to do this, it is our recommendation that the public interest would be served best by delivering the project using CMGC. Accordingly, we request that the P3 committee refer to the full board for approval, as shown on the slide, the use of CMGC delivery as the alternative contracting method on the State Route 9 US 19 Peachtree Road at CSX Bridge Replacement Project, as provided for in section 32 to 82 of the Georgia Code and 672-22-4 governing the CMGC procurement process. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Help me understand the bottom there, work packages, how this project delivery method allows for earlier utility relocations, because that's always sort of a time-delaying part.
That would essentially an early work package, like work package 1 could be set up to relocate some of those utilities well in advance of the actual bridge construction, but still.
Because it doesn't have to wait for that other contracting
Right,
process.
doesn't have to wait for the next,
Thank you.
step.
That's great.
Unlike design build, where
Yeah.
you have your NTPs and you have to wait as you go through that procedure.
Okay. Well,
This allows for early.
that's great.
And I do want to mention too, this isn't the first CMGC. We have the Talmadge Bridge,
That's right.
which is also a CMGC, if y'all recall that project.
All right, this is the second time. Oh,
Other questions?
So just my understanding of P3s and this project. So this came to the P3 committee, but it's not about financing. It's not like the 285 thing, right, toll road stuff. This is not really about finance.
that's correct. It is the P3 division of GDOT handles P3's design build and CMGC projects, but so that's why we brought it to this committee. However, this is not designed by financing.
In your first session, you talked about leveraging the contractor's skill. instead of utilizing the contractor skills, when you're just leveraging against, I just kind of curious why that word, instead of utilizing the contractor's knowledge. And they're probably not, I would say.
I'll interject. I mean, it's bringing contractor expertise in early to work with the design of what's physically possible and to tweak designs, collaboratively instead of in our traditional design bid build where an engineer designs a set of plans and then the contractor just bids on them and has to build that. It's bringing in the early coordination.
Value.
I mean, leveraging their expertise, but it's counting on that expertise. Again, we'll make a best value selection of a contractor based on their capabilities for some projects similar to this. And you're hiring them not on what the price of the project ultimately is, like a low bid, but on their value that they bring to the process. That's sort of the difference. And then we're marrying a designer and a contractor together, and GDOT is still in the middle to manage and lead this. And so that's what we're doing. Rick said the Talmadge Bridge was one we've done, and you saw that when you saw the bridge in Savannah, but replacing the cables where it's very specialty kind of work, where you need a special contractor to work with the engineer to even say that, yes, we can build that. You can design it, but can you build it? And so what we understood from the previous amount of work done on this project is we did have a design, but once we started working with the utilities and looking at only the limited allowances for outages, it became almost impossible to do it the normal way as recognized Shepherd, Piedmont, that whole road race thing, but mainly Shepherd, Piedmont, you can't lose water service, you can't lose power, and then our friend, the power man left, but that's transmission as well. And I believe they told us, I don't know where Maggie is, I think they told us we could have at least 1 month, maybe up to 3 months in a year to de-energize the power. Because you have to put a construction crane there to build a bridge, and you can't put a construction crane near power lines, it doesn't work. So there's a lot of complexity here that has to be thought about. So I'm sorry, y'all, it's a really cool project. So I got it.
And adding to the complexity too, speaking of the power lines, there's a substation that most of these power lines come out of just less than a quarter of a mile away. So there's not a lot of flexibility in how far and how they can move those lines to relocate.
Yeah, and I see why you use leverage, you're just trying to reinforce the importance.
Yeah.
And the cost of something like this, just out of curiosity, Mr. Commissioner, do you get a lot of changes? Because it seems like you could run into a lot of.
That's part of this delivery method, helps to minimize that very thing. And as Helen and Rick were talking about, on packages too, once you get into construction, sort of Kathy's question is you can, instead of bidding the whole thing and having unknowns, you bid little segments, and we advance segments at a time. And I will say this, our experience on Talmadge is we've actually been able to de-risk things that contractors were pricing risk in for.
That's right.
One of the things she had on her slide is this is called an open book process. So the contractor bills how they price to do a portion of the work. We have an independent third party review that will provide their view of what that work is. And often you'll find the discrepancies in the funding the pricing. And then you can negotiate what those items are and sort of see who's good. And we found that to be very beneficial on the Talmadge Bridge thus far, and saying, you priced this, why did you price it this way? It's an open negotiation. And so we bid this in this way because we think there's this risk. And so we can decide that if we're going to own the risk, participate in the risk, or say, yes, Mr. Contractor or Mrs. Contractor, that's your risk that we'll pay you for. So it's an open process. It's in an alternative delivery part of this because it is not a traditional low bid, and that's why we see your action. It is an alternative delivery that we're not choosing on the lowest
price of the project. We have a view of what that would be. I don't know if I have that off the top of my head, but, what the scale that it is, but it gives us a way to move things a lot more innovatively. And this is a very complicated.
Yeah, the current estimate, program funds are about $30 million. That includes right of way and construction. And as I recall, right of way was more than half of that, because of the right of way concerns in this area.
Do we have, an estimate for, should we give approval and everything else for starting and then, basically construction period of performance?
We would be developing that as if we get approval to use CMGC, if there were any changes for that.
You mean time?
Just rough timing.
Okay, well, if we get approval, we would like to move forward quickly and have an industry forum, perhaps in the third quarter, early third quarter, and then move forward to advertise, to seek contractors, to qualify them. Sometime this year, third or fourth quarter this year, and award early next year.
First quarter of 27. We'd like to have that contractor in as soon as possible.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna give my daughter y'all's phone numbers. She lives right down the street from me.
We are gonna try to keep it open.
The last name is Ball, so you can hear it.
We'll know.
He's got a personal stake because his daughter is halfway up Heartbreak Hill or whatever.
Did any of y'all actually visit the location for the Beltline tour?
Yes.
You're familiar. Yeah, you're familiar with the area there. So-
And it's a dividing line between the sixth and fifth district, is that relevant?
Okay.
We won't debate which side better.
That's it. They're both good.
So-
25th and 36th.
Other questions? So we've got a request here, as Commissioner said, that this is, virtually impossible to do without an alternative delivery method here. We have a request for a motion to, allow CMGC construction. Do I have anyone who would make that motion? All right, second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion further on it?
Good luck.
All right. All right, with that, seeing no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved, we'll forward it to the board. Thank you very much, for Commissioner Helen for your presentation.
Thank you.
Good luck.
And I love these projects. I love the challenge. So.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Thank you. Now we have a committee of the whole meetings. Like to ask Annette Solera to come forward, please.
This isn't working, right? All right, I'll try and project. Good afternoon. I'm going to talk to you today about some required amendments to Rule 672-20. And those address automated traffic enforcement safety devices in school zones and GDOT's role in permitting them. Okay, so since 2018, the GDOT has been in the role of permitting to allow what we call ATESDs in school zones. And we have permitted about 400 since 2018. In this last legislative session, we had two House bills which made substantial changes to the laws that affect the permitting process. There were House Bill 651 and House Bill 1161. Some of the statutory changes of the bills are effective this year, July 1st, 2026, and then some will be effective next year, July 1st, 2027. And some of these changes will affect the GDOT permitting process. So as a result, we need to amend our rules, and we'll present to you today those changes that are required. Before we get into that, I'll just very high level go over the process for amending our rules, since we haven't done that in a while, and I know we have some new board members. So you all should have received a package with track changes to our rules that show the amendments. It also had attached a synopsis which outlined the changes, as well as an economic impact statement. So we'll give you a presentation today and go over those changes. And then tomorrow at the full board, we'll ask that the board vote on the notice of intended action to amend these rules. That will allow the public 30 days to submit comments. So the end date of that would be July 20th. And we'll put it on our website, advertise in some newspapers, and set up an email so people can email their comments back to us. And then since we don't have 30 days between now and the next board meeting, we'll come back in August and vote to officially adopt the rules. After that, I'll send it to the Secretary of State's office, and 20 days after that, they'll become effective. So I'll now turn it over to Sam Harris. He's our state traffic engineer to discuss the rules in some more detail.
All right, thank you. So good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board, Commissioner. Thank you for having me here today to talk with you about automated traffic enforcement safety devices. My presentation will go over changes that the new laws have put in place. I'll indicate when those changes will occur and point you to the direction of where the rules have changed as well. So just in case you're not familiar with these type of devices, automated traffic enforcement safety devices, also known as ATESD, but during the presentation, you may also hear me refer to them as just simply automated traffic control devices or automated cameras. So in case you're not familiar with these type of devices, they're only allowed in school zones by law. They produce recorded still or video images, including license plate, and indicate the date, the time, location, and the speed of that vehicle. The goal of these devices is safety. We want to increase the safety within the school zone for anyone traversing the school zone, whether that be vehicle, pedestrian, cyclist, etc. This is a civil penalty, not a criminal one, criminal violation. GDOT issues these permits based on a need, and the Department of Public Safety is the one that issues speed detection device permits, and those are required in order for the applicant to be able to submit to GDOT a permit application in order for us to permit the devices to be placed within our documentation. The Chapter 672-20 establishes this permitting process. So this is that was one of the things updated in the rules. So let's start off with the first rule that we'll cover, or the first law change that we'll cover today. And this one is quite a change. So we'll make sure we highlight everything that entails. So this is effective July 1st of this year, 2026. And what this does is previously the permittee was either a school or the school district. That has now changed based on the law. It is now the governing body of the county or municipality. So this is going to involve a transfer of ownership of these permits. And so by the time we were confirmed what the law was going to say to effectively today, is that we have already developed a process internally within GDOT for the transfer of ownership of these permits. This is being provided out to the permittee holders, the current permittee holders, through our districts. This must be completed, by July 1st, 2026. If it is not completed by that time frame, the permit will be suspended until we receive the documentation in that application for the transfer of ownership, and then we will lift that suspension. We will lift that suspension as long as it also meets the other requirements by law. And that's also put into the letter and the document, the application that's being sent out to the permittee holders. And there's another slide where I'll highlight in particular one of the laws that we want to make sure people are aware of before they submit their documentation to us. This is covered in Rule 672-20.038 in the terms of the transfer to the local governing body of that deadline and the suspension, and also in the 672-20.02b changes that definition of who the applicant is. And then we deleted the requirement in terms of we no longer require a letter of support from the local police department, because that new owner of the permit is either going to be the governing body of the county or municipality. And so they're intertwined with each other already. So we don't need that letter anymore. Next up is an appeals process. So I'm gonna make this as clear as I can be, because this has come up quite a few times. This is an appeals process for the permittees, not an individual citizen that were to receive a ticket. So we as GDOT will not be hearing those appeals. It is only for the person that holds or the entity that holds the permit. We do not currently have an appeals process. So this is new section to the rules and how we define and how this is going to work. So high level, the Department of Public Safety will inform GDOT that it has suspended its speed detection. Meaning that, remember, that's the initial permit that they would have to receive in order to run these automated devices, automated detection devices, and it comes to GDOT for that permitting of the device itself. So DPS will inform GDOT that it is to suspend that device. GDOT will determine if that device is going to be suspended up to 12 months. So we can range, but up to 12 months is what we do there. There is an appeals process that can go through an appeals with our GDOT commissioner down to all the way to a superior court. And there are timeframes associated with that as well. During this appeal process, the device itself cannot be used. This is in the 672-20.07. All right, next up is the addition in terms of the new laws is that for a highway with more than 2 lanes, a permit requires a demonstrated prior history of justifying need. In addition to that, no permit is allowed for a 4-lane highway school zone lacking a crosswalk across such lanes. These are both in Rule 672-20.03. And as I indicated a few slides ago, that any permit that was already established, that we already have approved, when it is suspended coming up on July 1st, if they don't have their transfer documentation in terms of transferring that ownership, this is another area that we will be looking to make sure they are complying with the law, is to make sure that they have such a crosswalk if they are in a facility that has 4 lanes. Next up is times of operation. This is a question that is also very popular when it comes to these devices. When actually can it capture and issue a ticket for you speeding, potential speeding in that school zone? So I'll say it out loud first, and I'll walk through the graphic I have there. So the automated enforcement is only allowed on school days, during classes, either 1 hour before or 1 hour after. And so it is also for speeds over 10 miles per hour above the applicable school zone speed limit and 10 miles above the non-reduced limit. So let me just highlight the graphic, because again, I want to make sure we're clear on when these devices can actually enforce this, automatically force the speed limit. So that first, that line represents time. The first segment of that line, that's the darkest, represents the first hour of arrival into school. So that's 1 hour before classes start, before classes start at that school. The enforcement speed in that time frame is the school speed limit. So the school zone speed limit plus 10 miles per hour. So if you are going 10 miles per hour over that school zone speed limit, then you are going to get a ticket from that automated device. After the 1 hour of arrival, so that's drop off, kids walking to school, kids biking to school, you have the period of during classes. And so that is when classes are in session for that day. That automated device can ticket you if you go 10 miles per hour over the regular speed limit, so the non-school zone speed limit. Then once classes conclude, and it is children are let out, it's departure from the school, kids are getting picked up, walking home, biking home. The 1 hour after, it can ticket you for going 10 miles per hour over that school zone speed limit again. So that's when these devices are allowed to operate in terms of the automated enforcement. However, a local authority can enact further limits, the hours with an ordinance or resolution. So if a local government were to choose so, they could further restrict that time, not expand it, but further restrict that time that they can do automated enforcement. The permits that we have in our files will indicate the hours of operation. That is similar to how we do it now. And this is related to Rule 672-20.03H. They also the permittee will provide within their application, the ordinance or resolution, if they are restricting hours. Next up is also something new. This is a law that will take into effect July 1st of 2027. So not immediately coming up in 14 days, but next July. So what these laws indicate is that a traffic control device, a sign or a device which provides an accurate depiction of speed and lights which flash yellow when an ATSD is authorized to issue citations. So this is covered under Rule 672-20.03 or 1 and I and J and K, excuse me. That indicates the J is the device showing the speed limit, showing your speed back speed, and then K is for the flasher. And a permittee will need to meet these specifications that are going to be put out by GDOT by that 2027 deadline on that July 1st. And then the rule also states for the 672-2003-6, failure to comply could result or will result in a suspension or revoking of that permit. I like visualizations. They help me get through trying to understand what exactly is happening. And so what we did here is this is what a school zone can look like based on these new laws being introduced. So you have first set of signs, that one over here on the far left. That is a school zone sign indicating that you are approaching a school zone. Then this is the next set. The next assembly is the new assembly set. This is based on the law, based in asking for that speed feedback device. These may look very familiar to you in terms of driving around a neighborhood or even some of our state routes. These signs simply just depict back the speed in which you are approaching. So when you get close to that sign, it'll pick up your speed and indicate that to you. This is also where those flashers, the flashing element will be added into. It also will have school and photo enforced built into that as well, into that sign assembly. That has to be at least 500 feet before you get to the automated devices, that sign assembly, the new one. You will then see a warning sign to indicate that you are approaching a school speed zone. And then next up, you'll see a flashing assembly with a school speed limit. So that is what you would see today in most school zones, as you would see the speed limit in reference to that school zone and the flashing beacons that go alongside it. And those flashing beacons will flash when the school zone speed limit is in effect. So it's separate from the flashing elements that are going to be for the first assembly sign set that I indicated before with the speed feedback sign. That flashing, it indicates to a driver that it is that automated device can ticket you. So no matter what part of the day, a device can ticket you. Going back a slide, 1 hour before, during classes, 1 hour after. And then finally, as you exit the speed zone, we would have the end school zone sign there. Last up is a local referendum requirement based on the new law. This goes into effect July 1st of 2027. And this provides in part that no contract shall be entered into or renewed by a governing body of a county or municipality of any enforcement agency thereof for the enforcement of speeding violations in the school zone through the use of automated traffic enforcement safety device unless the question of such enforcement method is submitted to qualified voters for approval or rejection. So I'll summarize that for you. This has to go on a ballot and it has to be voted upon. And if it does not pass, they have to wait 3 years. That local jurisdiction has to wait 3 years in order to get that back to the ballot, to bring it back to the community to vote on. Rule 672-20.031. For new permits, that approval authorizing referendum will be required in the permit application. For any existing permits under Rule 672-20.037, they must provide that authorizing referendum as a supplement of documentation. And that 672-20.038, the term of these permits will be 6 years from the date of the approved authorizing referendum. And with that, we're on the question side, but Annette, I don't know if you had any other comments.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple, first, just verification. This applies to all schools, public, private, on state roads, on rural, suburban, urban, anywhere.
Correct.
Okay. So it might seem like minutia, but I've got several schools that have asked me this question on the crosswalk. Because we're in an urban environment, almost all our schools are on 4-lane roads, and they want to know, well, how close does the crosswalk need to be to the proximity of the zone or the school? Is it just within the zone?
It has, by law, it has to be within the zone.
Within the zone. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Seth, you may have said this, and I might have been dreaming about that, but now I'm putting those in. Did the local jurisdictions pay for this equipment, or is that in our?
To my understanding, it's the vendor that they work with, they're responsible for paying that.
I can vouch for that, because I was on the school board that did this. Yeah, so there's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a point of clarity. Just because I've had some folks locally ask why GDOT's doing this, and that this is simply for our friends viewing and our folks in the audience. We're adjusting our rules to adhere to the legislation
Yes,
that
sir.
is passed by the legislature. Right?
Yes, sir. Right.
I'll make that clear.
Because we permit.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
That's correct.
And I share mine, I mean, I feel like we're being dealt a hand that we gotta deal with here. I've got some grave concerns though, just generally because of the vendors that are involved in this. And it's sold as being for safety, but in reality, this is big money for the vendors that install the cameras. And the citizens that wind up paying the civil penalties don't have much recourse in the way of how do you go about contesting. Now, the legislature's made a policy decision, they want us to enact it. And I don't think there's a lot that we can do to change what the legislature's done, but I have very grave concerns from a civil liberty standpoint. I feel like this is a type of system that is ripe for being misused. And I have very big concerns about it.
My understanding that, so this is all automated, this is not, the speed zone violations and all that's going to be all automated?
Yeah.
If that device is installed in that speed zone, it would be automated. To my understanding, there is an officer that signs off on those citations, but that doesn't necessarily mean that officer.
That time.
Correct. Yeah.
So another question, just to clarify again. So you're saying the civil penalties, fines, if you will, goes to the vendor and not to the municipality or the school?
That's contract, that contract with the school system. But if the fine's $150, depending on what the contract is, X amount kept by the vendor, X amount goes to the school system. But the vendors, I mean, they're the ones that are, they're doing this for a reason, because they make a bunch of money doing it.
Yeah.
And it's for a school system, it's kind of sold in as a no-brainer, because it's sold as safety, but you're getting money without having to staff anything. And we're the ones though, who are in the process of permitting. And I mean, I guess, we gotta have our criteria how we permit it, but it puts us, I think, in just a heck of a position. Because there are very few other things that GDOT does where we have so little oversight other than issuing permits. And it's such a money-making operation for the vendors. It's just a unique thing, and I've raised my concern, and that's why.
And I ask just the legal citizens speak to that.
Sure.
I have several tickets. Because our here in Rome has flashing lights in the very beginning when it was first established.
we have blinking lights to say that we need to slow down between these hours on sign. But the lights are so dim that it took me 2 tickets to figure out what the heck they were talking about now, to make sure that I can see what they're talking about.
Oh, it's not they got lights.
So they made a lot of money on me before I could realize that there's really something flashing. It's not very obvious.
Mr. Commissioner, Sam, can you share the permit fee for processing these permits? How much is that?
Zero.
Just want to make sure there's not a charge that there's for a permit provided.
Sure. So the state law, since the batteries, we've got it, and like I said, we got to respond, all this is conforming to state law. We can't give them 20 days, 30 days past July 1st to get their application in because state law says it goes into effect then, I assume. What parameters in a rule like this could the board go further? But like if it's unstated, the amount of the ticket, did the board put an extra rule to tell the legislature came and put that parameter in? Where do you have any fluidity in a rule like this, Mr. Chairman, as a whole?
Yes.
Yeah, the law sets all of that out. So we're very restricted about what we can do exactly. It sets out what the fines are, has an appeal process for the driver.
So it's
So
pretty comprehensive. This case.
it's, yes, and we're not involved as an agency in any of that. So
Yeah, sometimes we might find something.
yes, it's pretty comprehensive. I can send you a copy if you want.
How about another question in the law? Does the law establish the fact that it is a zero permit fee, or do we have the ability to charge a fee from GDOT? Is there anything that precludes us from charging a fee as part of the permitting process?
To the vendor.
To the vendor?
Yeah, clearly to the vendor.
has been developing very quickly. So GDOT's worked very closely with Bartow County to protect the corridor and work with developers so that their plans don't conflict with the future route. Once completed, the route will be a 4-lane divided highway. It will provide better access to I-75. And you won't have to go through all the traffic signals in Cartersville. Phase 2 of the corridor is 2.55 miles. And it's expected to cost just under $119 million. The project is expected to have plans complete in January of 2028, and it will move to construction once funding is available. Chairman, that completes my presentation. Happy to turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a great point. I mean, there's a lot of work being done here in surrounding areas. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to, one of the slides that, Grant did with the, Second Avenue where the utilities were. I just, everybody knows on this board, your district engineers and your engineers throughout your districts, you couldn't do the work. We couldn't do the work we do without them. This has been a somewhat frustrating project, but I want to say thank you publicly to Grant. I think it's about 3 weeks ago, where Grant and his team, I know Joel was there, and about 10 other engineers and staff across the 6th district and the 14th congressional district showed up and spoke before the Rome City Commission and gave a full overview of what's happening, some of the delays, what we've encountered. Rome is an old city. And so some of the things we get up underground, we kind of find out things that maybe we didn't, that are there, that we didn't know were there on current maps. So I just want to thank Grant and his team for being willing to come before some of these local commissions and constituencies to explain kind of what's happening. Sometimes we always don't give the answer they want, but being in front of them and to answer those questions, I think is important. So Grant, thank you, Joel. Thank y'all for the work that you do.
And how do you pronounce that, river?
Oostenaula.
Oostenaula. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Sorry. Thank you.
Good job, Greg. Any other questions, comments? We done there?